Hello, hello. Hi, guys. I am getting live on both platforms. Well, multiple platforms here. Thanks so much for joining. So it is Wisdom Wednesday. It is not 8 p.m. like I normally do my live, but I'm switching it up today. So I wanted to talk to you guys about how systems can scale your business. So Um, let me know if you have any questions. Feel free throughout the time that I'm talking to drop your questions into the chat, or you can DM me your questions as well, and I will make sure to get back with you. But I really want to talk about systems, and I've been talking about systems all week because I feel like I know that systems are the way in which you scale your business. If you have something that that's not repeatable, duplicatable, and teachable, you can't scale it. And so it's really important to start systems in your business and start them early so that as you grow your team, as you expand, then you can basically transfer that knowledge, that skill over to someone else so that you can then expand other parts of your business and grow it. So, I want to talk about a few systems today that hopefully will help you guys. So, the first one is your lead generation system. Lead generation meaning how do you get new clients? So, every business has to have new clients. If you don't get new clients, then you'll be out of business. It's not enough to just get some clients and then just stop the marketing, stop nurturing, stop the process of trying to have new faces in your business, whether it be an actual physical location or whether it be online. So you definitely want to have a lead generation system. And it might look different depending on what type of business you have. A lot of folks now depend on social media. And I talked a few weeks ago about how you need to have multiple ways to market and bring new clients into your business. But we can use social media for the purposes of this live. Um, so if you are going to be doing some social selling, the first thing you want to think about is what problem are you solving, for whom, and what are the benefits of doing business with you? And this has to be clearly communicated so that when you do encounter someone that's in your target market, they, number one, know how to take action with you, and number two, know the result of doing business with you, whether it's to purchase your product or your service. The reason why I say a lead generation system is because this system is pretty much essentially what is powering your business, so to speak, or ensuring that you have visibility all the time. And a system has multiple parts to it. So that's why I said social media is only one aspect of what you're doing what you're doing to bring new clients into your business. So for your lead generation system, you need to know what your entry points are. So of course, that would be social media. And then from social media, what happens next? Where do they go next in the system? So typically we have some type of a lead magnet or a freebie that they would download to then come into your ecosystem, right? So that might be your email list, that might be your text list, and we can get a little bit more into that in just a second. But once that happens, you now have someone that's entered your brand community. What is the way in which you nurture them? And that's something that you have to kind of map out for your particular business, for your brand, for your industry, right? So that's one system that I feel like is really vital or crucial in your business. The second is sales process. So it kind of goes hand in hand. This really be the next step after you generate a new lead. They're kind of are automatically put into your sales process. So what does that process look like for your business? Do you have one? Meaning, what are the steps that someone goes through when you're trying to, offer them a product or offer them a service? And depending on the decision that they make, what happens next? So it's kind of like a decision tree as to the journey that the customer will go on. and then what the result might be. But you need to have that mapped out so that you have an understanding of, one, how much marketing efforts do you put into those entry points to get them into the sales process? And then two, what are your conversion rates or success rates for getting to take that ultimate action? I always talk about what's the number one action you want people to take with you. So what's that premium product, or what's that thing that you really want them to do once they enter your ecosystem? What is the ultimate goal? And all roads should lead to that point. So talk about an aligned product suite. This is where that really comes into play in thinking about how that all works together in your system. So I just kind of touched on email text marketing. I feel like this is definitely another system that needs to be in your business. You don't necessarily have to have one or both. But I think it is crucial to have both and have them work together. That's just my personal opinion. I think email and text are great ways to market, and I think that you don't have to pick one or the other. I think both of them have their advantages, both of them have their disadvantages, but if you use them correctly and you use them in conjunction with one another, then you will see a drastic change in your return on investment from utilizing those and strategically using those, I might add. So as an example of that, like, we talk about having the lead magnet and that person getting on your email list. What happens after that? Hopefully they're getting a welcome email sequence after they've downloaded that lead magnet, or they're getting some sequence pertaining to that particular lead magnet. I personally do two sequences. I do a welcome sequence and I'll do something pertaining to that lead magnet, but they are timed specifically depending upon how they came into my ecosystem, right? Because I want to, hey, thanks for joining. Because I want to make sure, number one, they know who I am, they know what my brand is about, but they're also getting the thing that they wanted to download, and they're getting some information around that thing because that's their problem right now today, and that's what's at the top of their mind. But I don't want them to miss out on, like, what this brand is about, what we have to offer, and why you should stay in my brand community, why you should stay in my ecosystem. Like, you may find that you have a good success rate with actually someone downloading your freebie, but then they unsubscribe right after that. And my question to my client is always, well, did you tell them who you were and why they should stay? Now, this is going to happen. You are going to have unsubscribes. Don't get offended. To your email list or your text list, it's going to happen, and it's okay. But I think ultimately, what did you do to connect with that person prior to just saying, hey, download my thing? Or if they just downloaded it, what did you do within that process as they were consuming the information to ensure they had a reason to stay? So think about that and think about how that system is working in your business. And then if you do utilize text in your business, how are you utilizing it? Are you only utilizing text to send people coupons? Or are you utilizing text to actually have a conversation with people and learn things or just connect with them on a deeper level? So think about how, and the same with email, the same will go with email, right? Are you only emailing people to say, hey, buy this thing or sign up for my program, or, I'm launching this new thing? Or are you actually providing value to your audience, giving them something that they need, and then saying, oh, by the way, here's this thing or here's this event that I'm throwing, or what have you. So think about the way in which you're using these things and how these systems can work together. I personally use text and email as like a handshake system within my business. So it's like I utilize them both as strategic points, right, to create a seamless experience for my clients. So if you don't know what that looks like, you can DM me, ask more questions. We can definitely set up a brand strategy session and walk through how that process might work in your business. So I touched on lead generation, sales processes, email, text marketing. Let's talk about standard operating procedures. And I know that it sounds really boring. And why are we talking about SOPs? Oh my gosh, guess what? If you want to scale your business, you must have SOPs. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't know those people. I don't know about that life. All I know about is that it's important to have SOPs. Standard operating procedures. Why? You are only one person. At some point, if you are doing things correctly, you are going to be out of time personally that you can put into your business. It's a fact. Like, we only have so many hours in the day. You, as solopreneurs, we like to wear all the hats, do all the things. At some point, this it's not going to be possible. Like, it's not going to be humanly possible. So you're going to have to delegate. You're going to have to build a team if you want to scale. And so that means you're going to have to transfer your knowledge and how to do things. And if you don't have that documented somewhere, it's going to be really difficult. You have to sit with that person. Not that you don't do that during training, but you're going to have to sit with them and teach them literally every single thing. And then let's say that person moves on. If you don't document it, you got to do that again and again and again and again. And then there's some things that are in your head that you just like know, that you cannot assume that other people are going to just know. And it's going to create a frustrating experience for both you and that team member that you're trying to bring on, because you just know it. So one of the things that I had to learn as a leader is that, and this is something from, I believe it's from John Maxwell, I believe. His 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And he talks about how when you're hiring, when you're a leader and you're attracting people on your team, number one, you're not going to be able to necessarily attract anyone who is higher than you. And he like ranks people from a 10 to 1 in terms of like their leadership capability and what they're able to execute. And so if you yourself are an 8, then then you won't be able to attract anybody who is, let's say, higher than an 8. And in the off chance that you do, that person's not going to stay very long because they're already at like a different mindset level. It's kind of like someone's mindset and where they are at leadership, and then also their ability to execute their job. So not thinking of it like in terms of like looks or anything like that. It gives you perspective on when you're building a team, how to hire, and like kind of how to adjust your perception with the people that you're working with, which is really, really important, because a lot of times I think we are good at what we do and we are in our zone of genius. We do the other things outside of our zone of genius because we have to. And then we get frustrated with other people because they don't know, right? So I had to learn. I'm like, okay, I know how to do this because this is in my area of expertise. Now I have to teach this thing that I know, or I've made it a part of my repertoire, right? I've learned. And so now I know how to do this skill. I know how to do the thing. I have to transfer that to somebody else. In order for them to be as good as me, they're going to have that same time to be able to cultivate that skill in order to get to that level. So I can't be frustrated with that they didn't do it like I did it, or exactly how I might have done it. Hey, Gladys. Thanks for joining. So I say all that to say, when you are creating your standard operating procedures, know that there should be room for error, right? There's got to be room for error. And so give yourself grace, but also give your team members grace when they're learning and trying to do the things that you have been doing for however long, and now you have to transfer it because you have to get something off your plate. But I'm saying all this because the system won't work. System won't work unless you're able to transfer that skill, unless you're able to write those SOPs, have someone understand it, and then do that particular job, right? So that's definitely one of my number one systems that I recommend that people have in their business. And I start working with my clients on this early because you're going to find that like you have your zone of genius, whatever it is that you're really good at. But you're going to find that like as you grow, especially if you grow quickly, it's going to be very difficult to be able to push past those markers and milestones if you don't have the right systems in place. So to recap, we talked about lead generation systems, we talked about sales processes, we talked about email marketing, text marketing, and standard SOPs. Those are my top systems. There's definitely more, but those are my top systems I think that all business owners really need in their business in order to be able to scale properly. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. I would love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Are there any systems that you feel like you can't live without? Any systems that you feel are crucial that you've learned, or that maybe that you have questions about in your business that you want to ask? Because I feel like, now is the time. I use a lot of different systems. When I say systems, I do mean like, I mean a way of doing things, and I also mean tech too. Tech we need tech in 2021, like, and beyond. We definitely need that. So if there's any, systems that you have questions about, you want to ask about, you've heard about, I will say, in terms of like technology, I'm a tech girl, tech geek. I'm an engineer by trade. So like anything that's like techie that people like, hey, have you heard of this? I'm gonna go look it up. So I'm one of those people, and I'm gonna like check it out. I'm not gonna necessarily download it and be all in it, but unless it's something like, in my business that I can use, or I'm looking at it for a client. That's the other thing too. I do help people vet systems as well if they're in my program. And the reason that I do that is because I'm very passionate about making sure people pick the right thing that works for them, and not just the thing that everybody is using, right? You do have to pick something that's going to work for you. And I do have some tips as being on the other side of the world, like being on the people who used to code, like some things to look out for. And I'll just give you some top level things now in case you are thinking about some actual like tech things in your business. Anything in beta, I might not necessarily jump both feet into that. I would have a backup, right? Beta means they're just testing it. Beta is not necessarily a bad thing. It just means they're probably going to have some bugs. And I always ask people who are currently using that system, I always ask them like, what's the good, bad, and the ugly? It might mean that you're still going to go with that, whatever that means, whatever that might be. I'm actually getting ready to do a video in a second about email marketing software and some options in case you were looking at that. But um, I always ask people, what's the good, the bad, the ugly, and like how they're using it, like, how they found it to be. And that helps me make a decision if I'm going to be switching or purchasing anything new. I always tell entrepreneurs, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Like, don't just do it because you see it and it's popular. Make sure it's actually going to replace a process, help you be more efficient, help you make more money. Those are the rules, right? If it doesn't do one of those things, you probably don't want to do it. Oh, and the other thing, make sure it's scalable. Scalable and integratable, meaning it integrates with things that you already are using. And if it doesn't, what's going to be the process, right? What's going to be the process or the system to make it make sense and work with everything else that you're using? So always think in those terms. Again, if you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comments. Feel free to also DM me as well. I think that's it, guys. So thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Really passionate about systems, also passionate about automation. I think I'm going to go live about automation probably next week. I think I feel like I can talk like forever about automation and how that really saves your life, and how like there's a lot of different software now that does it, but why you would want something like that, or why you would use it, and why and how it improves your client experience like 100%. So this was really just all about systems. And then we'll focus on, I think I'll go live and do automation next week. And make sure you save your questions for that. I'm going to probably go live around the same time next week. So right after I get off Clubhouse, I'm going to jump on IG and on Facebook and YouTube and talk about business automation. So any questions, feel free to DM me your questions or drop them in the comments. Would love to include that in the live so that I can answer you guys questions about that. So I think that's it. Thanks so much for joining. I'll see you guys later. Bye.